Hello, welcome to today's video. My name's Lois and today I'm going to be tier ranking all the books I read in 2025. I didn't really have enough time in December to properly review what I'd read throughout the year because I was working a lot over Christmas, there was family around, I was sick as well, so it was just a busy time. Before we get too far into this year, I just wanted to go over some of the highlights and some of the things I'd probably skip out of the books I read last year. It's been quite a while since I've actually done a tier ranking book video, so I'm quite excited for this. And I decided to do it because I actually didn't read that many books last year. If I'd read too many, I think the video would get too long to cover all of them. But I read 14 books. I had aimed for 25, but you know, this is what we're dealing with. Okay, let's go chronologically and start with the first book I read in January last year, which is Jack and the Fallen Giants. By Jonathan Pageau. I've got my very beautiful copy here. It's physically a really gorgeous book. So it's got to be highly ranked because of how beautiful it is, both the illustrations, the design, the story, but I don't think it quite compares to a lot of the other books that I've read on here. It is a retelling, trying to be very faithful to the original, but with a few twists, of Jack and the Beanstalk. So I think it's gonna have to go 3 or 4 because I don't think it quite makes 5 stars for me. I'm gonna start off generous and put it on 4. Okay, and next after that, what do we have? Got my list here on my phone. Okay, right, we're going downhill a little bit. We've got How to Break Up With Your Phone, which it didn't work very well. Probably it was me, but the thing is, if you're going to write a book on how to break up with your phone, I feel like it's got to be more useful than just something that ChatGPT could come up with. I don't know if that's kind of harsh, but everyone knows some of the tips and techniques, and I don't think it helped me enough for me to rank it very highly. I'm between a 2 and a 3 on this one. I don't know if 2 sounds kind of harsh, but honestly I can't even remember anything that was said in it. You know, let's go a bit mean. I'm gonna go with a 2. I mean, I can't say it's helped me, I can't say I'd overly recommend it. Okay, next up we've got The Lord of Spirits by Father Andrew Stephen Damick. This has got to be very high for me. I think this is going to go my first 5-star book of the tier ranking. So this is a book about the unseen realm, the spiritual realm. It's from an Orthodox perspective, and I really enjoyed it. I made so many notes on this book. I should probably go through them at some point, but I particularly enjoyed. Oh no, let's move it up. I particularly enjoyed the bits about different tiers of angels, things about demons, the idea of the image of God being connected to works, and doing God's works, I think it was. But it was really good. I also have really fond memories of walking around a city in Italy while listening to it in January, where it was a bit, I don't know, the weather's a bit miserable, but there's something kind of interesting about January. It's kind of like the night time of the months of the year, because it's kind of dreary and darker and colder, but I feel like it just opens up your mind and imagination a little bit more to the invisible world. So the next book, I think it's also going to be a 5-star. I read it around a similar time to The Lord of Spirits. Well, it was an audiobook, so I listened to it. And that is The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Hyde. And this is a book that I've been meaning to listen to for quite a long time because it's something I'm quite passionate about, is learning about the effects of technology. I've been struggling with phone addiction for such a long time, and The Anxious Generation is kind of about how children, teenagers, young people have been affected by smartphones, social media and the like. And I thought it was a brilliant book. It was very, I don't know, it's not just smartphones are bad, don't use them at all, but it just looked into the problems that it causes for children of different ages, for boys and for girls, and it goes then into different solutions that people can make individually, as a community, as a society, and laws. Like, it was structured so well, and addressed so many different elements of the issue. And it's quite interesting now because Australia has now banned social media for under 16s. I've seen in the news that the Conservative Party in the UK are proposing that if they were elected next, then they would also ban social media for under 16s. So it's really interesting topic, and I just thought the book did a really good job at looking at it as well. So the next book I read, which I'm pretty sure I was still reading in 2024 and it took me so long to get through it, but that was The Nutcracker by E.T.A. Hoffmann. And the copy I had also had some short stories by him as well, which were The Sandman and The Mines at Falun. And personally, I think I enjoyed the short stories more than The Nutcracker. They felt really gothic. They had that kind of typical gothic male protagonist who's like kind of self-absorbed. I don't know, I kind of like reading about them though. And then you also have these kind of elements of the supernatural, a bit of a descent into madness, and I enjoyed like comparing them with like Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, that kind of story. I don't know if I need to give The Nutcracker itself another chance, perhaps as an audiobook, because I just found it a bit harder to follow, and I don't know, I didn't really get it. I like the idea of it being like a nice Christmas story and toys come to life. Like I preferred the idea of it than the actual story itself. So I think it's gonna have to go with a 3. Or 3 or 4. Let's let it be a 3, I think. Just because of The Nutcracker itself, I think would bring it down, but if I was just basing it off the short stories, I might put it as a 4. Okay, and we have another audiobook now. I just got through a lot of audiobooks at the beginning of last year, and some really good ones. So next up I had Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl, which I've been meaning to read for quite a while. It's a very famous book. I think it's also on Jordan Peterson's like reading list of books you should read. And I feel like it's gonna get a 4. I don't know, it feels a bit, I'm not sure if I like it being next to Jack and the Fallen Giants, because I don't know, they just look a bit strange next to each other. I guess they're very different books. But Man's Search for Meaning, so it's kind of divided into 2 main sections. Firstly, it's about Viktor Frankl's experience in the Holocaust, and you know, it goes into a lot of very dark places, and I think it kind of, in some ways, kind of validates some of the second part where he's talking about his theory of logotherapy. He's kind of rehumanizing psychology, I would say. I would say it's about giving people more control and lesser talking about, oh, your dad did this, so now you're acting and feeling in this way, and more kind of taking control of your life and the future and what you're finding meaning in. And just looking back through my notes, I feel like there were a lot of really interesting, valuable points about how you should orient yourself and your life. A lot of it does remind me of Jordan Peterson, but I don't feel like it always felt as coherent and like it flowed as well as some of the other books on this list. It's still a really great, really worthwhile read, but I think for me I might have to put it on 4 stars, I think. So after that, what do we have? Okay, I'm pretty sure it is. Yes, it is How to Be a Christian, Reflections and Essays by C.S. Lewis. And I think this is the only C.S. Lewis book I read last year. Wow, I really didn't read a lot, which is rare for me. And I also don't think it ranks as highly as other C.S. Lewis books that I've read in the past or that I plan to read in the future. I feel like it feels like a little bit of a continuation of Mere Christianity, although if I remember rightly it's probably just a compilation rather than one coherent book. But then Mere Christianity was also based from audio broadcasts in World War II, so I suppose neither of them are as flowy. I don't think I can rate anything of C.S. Lewis below a 4 because I just think he is great in whatever he does. I think it is going to be a 4. I don't think it can go anywhere else. Like, nothing he writes about Christianity is bad. Like, it's all really good. Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend it if you enjoy reading C.S. Lewis's writings on Christianity. Like, you can't go wrong with it. But if I were to recommend you something by C.S. Lewis, it's probably not the one I would go for, if that makes sense. Okay, I feel like most of these books were really good, and now we're getting into like the summertime where my reading was a bit random, not as great. So yeah, the next book we have is an audiobook, which was The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, which is just not what I would normally go for. It's self-help, but it's very modern. It's not like a well-established classic self-help book that, you know, everyone knows is great. I think it's quite controversial as well, but the main premise of the Let Them Theory is kind of that you can't control what other people around you are doing. Like, even if it's some people really close to you, like family or friends, from them to like strangers who you meet only once or you may never meet, maybe they're just driving a car or something. Like, the premise is you can't control them, so you have to just let them do what they're gonna do, and you can only control like your own response, which I think is really useful and valuable. So yeah, I think it's a good idea and a good concept to let go of controlling things, but it just didn't need to be an 8-hour book. Like, maybe a very short book, but this was just too long. I'm kind of between 2 and 3 stars. I think 2 feels way too mean, so maybe I will put it as a 3. But I wouldn't really recommend reading the whole thing. Maybe watch like a video by Mel Robbins and see if you find value from that. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in a 3. It's difficult because like the Nutcracker is like 3 to 4 and this is like 2 to 3. It's kind of hard to like establish where it should be sometimes. Okay, but to be fair, I think it's a good thing that I can summarize the message of the book so like quickly and clearly in a couple of sentences, whereas some other books it's kind of, I don't know, you can't remember as clearly what you took away from it, so that's a good thing. Okay, next is another audiobook, and it is Redefining Anxiety by Dr. John Deloney, and he has a really good YouTube channel. If you like listening to like a radio show where people call in with their problems and he'll talk about them and help them get through them, then you'll probably enjoy his show. And his book is kind of going through his same like attitude and approach to helping people. But I feel like if you've listened to the show enough, it doesn't bring too much that's new. So I'm not sure how valuable it actually was for me. Some of the main things I can remember from the book and the show is about that anxiety is not really a sickness like it often is described as by doctors, or like something that's wrong with you. It's like your body ringing alarm bells that something is wrong. So I thought that was an interesting take, and I would largely agree with it. So if you've not encountered him already and you suffer with anxiety or you want to learn more about it, then it's definitely an interesting read. But I don't know. I feel like 2 stars is mean, and it definitely brings more value than that for people, but for me maybe less so. I don't know. I feel like 2 stars is mean. I think it's gonna have to go with a 3 star, because there's definitely value in the book. I think I've just got it more from watching the podcast, the radio show, over a long period of time. So yeah, I think it's gonna go with a 3. Next we have a book that took me so long to read, like probably most of the summer, and that was Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. Now, it's the first book I've read by her, and the main reason I picked it was because we were going on holiday to Cornwall, and we've been there twice, and on the way we've stopped off at Jamaica Inn, which is now like a pub. Like, I think you can stay there, it's got a nice shop, and we just like to get some lunch there on the way. And I don't know, it's pretty nice, pretty cool gothic coastal vibes. Wreckers, smugglers, that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know why I completely forgot the word smugglers. It is about a girl who is orphaned, and she goes to live with her aunt and her husband, who is like the chief smuggler in the area. Very violent, drunk man, and she pretty much falls in love with his younger brother. Now, where to put it? I'm kind of between 3 and 4, and I'm leaning towards a 3. I don't quite want to put it up there with Viktor Frankl or C.S. Lewis. I think, I think it's gonna have to be a 3. Like, I did enjoy it for sure, but it didn't blow my socks off. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And next up we have our first fiction 5-star, I think, and that is going to be The Return of the King, the last part of The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I don't think you can put Return of the King below 5-star, really. It's the amazing conclusion to like probably the best fantasy series out there. It did take me a while to get through, but you know, it's Lord of the Rings. I don't think I can fly through it. It's also my first time reading it, so you've got to kind of really soak it in and absorb the new characters and different places, and the really nice themes and story. I really enjoyed reading about Sam and Frodo in Mordor. I also enjoyed the big battles on the Siege of Gondor. And the plot itself was really beautiful as well. Like, there is nothing that I can really fault with this book, except sometimes some of the scenic descriptions by Tolkien I get a bit lost in. That's like my only way that I can fault them. If you haven't read Lord of the Rings, like, what are you doing? Go read Lord of the Rings. And I can now say that I have seen all of the films as well. I watched last week the extended version of The Return of the King for the first time with my brothers. I did shed a couple of tears. My brother was like sobbing. He really feels this story a lot, apparently. It is wonderful. And I did also feel like The Return of the King was possibly the most faithful of the movie adaptations. The timelines are a little bit different with how they line up Sam and Frodo in Mordor with the other events, but I think it works really well. The only other thing is that some things they kind of skip over or go through very quickly in the film, but you kind of have to because it's such a long book, otherwise the film would be already more ridiculously long. It's already like 4.5 hours. So yeah, Return of the King, definitely 5-star. So next up we have Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, which is the second prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy. So the original trilogy, it was really big in my teenage years. I really enjoyed them. I have fond memories of going to the cinema with my friends to see the movies. I think we even studied the first one in school. There was a prequel that came out a couple of years ago called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and that was following the rise to power of President Snow, who's like the main villain in the series, which I did really enjoy. It was a really different perspective. And when I read about this prequel, which is following Haymitch Abernathy, who is the mentor to the main characters Katniss and Peeta in the original trilogy, I was really excited because Haymitch was one of my favourite characters and is a very popular character. So I was excited to go back into that world that is quite nostalgic for me, but with a fresh story and a story that like clearly the fans really wanted to hear. It was written well, I really enjoyed it. The setting was great. My main thing that I'm not too sure about is that they did make Haymitch very much a rebel, participating in multiple like plots or attempts in the story to kind of show up the capital and President Snow. I'm kind of not entirely happy with some of these rankings. Like some of these books don't look like they should be next to each other. Can't figure out why. I want to put Sunrise on the Reaping as a 4. It's just some of these are such different genres that they don't feel quite right. I'm gonna put it as a 4. I feel like I really enjoyed it. It had the potential to be a 5-star among like teen fiction, but there were just some things that I would do differently, if that makes sense. Okay, we're now on to our last 2 books, which I feel like are a little bit different from the others. They are like kind of Christian devotional books. Our Church Speaks. Okay, let's do that one first. It is a yearly devotional that covers different Christians or saints throughout history. It has very beautiful illustrations in a kind of iconographic style. It has information about the Christians' life, when they lived, what impact they made, and then it gives you like a scripture and a meditation and a prayer. It's a really amazing book. It's really beautiful. Can I give it a 5-star? I can't fault it in any way, and I really enjoyed it. So I think it has to be. As I say, it just looks very strange putting some of these books next to each other because they are so different. But let's do it. Let's go for a 5-star. Yeah, I definitely think you should get it if you want a Christian devotional book, if you are interested in church history, if you like art. Like there's so many wonderful things about this book. They've also got an Instagram page that you can follow. I think they may have a podcast. I've not listened to that, so I can't personally recommend it, but I'm sure it's great. Okay, for the last book of the year, we have O Come, Emmanuel, which is a Advent devotional. My first instinct was a 4, but I'm leaning towards a 5. So this book I listened to as an audiobook, and I think it would be a very different experience reading the physical book. So I'm commenting on it as an audiobook, just to clarify, because it had like songs in it as well, and I don't know, reading a song is quite different. And my experience was that I listened to it every morning while I was getting ready, normally for work because I was working quite a lot at Christmas. But what I really liked is it was really structured, it was really liturgical, it had songs, prayers, it had like a meditation by different Christian figures. It would have time for confession, personal prayer. I thought it was just really rich, really beautiful, and I would definitely recommend it for anybody who, if you want to really be preparing your heart, meditating, making it a really spiritual time, then I would definitely recommend this book. Yeah, as I say, I'm leaning towards a 5. Why not? Let's give it 5. Okay, that is all the books. Am I happy with my ranking? I think I am. I didn't hate any of the books this year, like none of them deserve a 1. I'm pretty happy with How to Break Up With Your Phone being in second, like with 2 stars, because it's not awful, I just didn't find it helpful and I didn't overly enjoy it, and so I wouldn't particularly recommend it. My 3 stars, I'm pretty happy with my 3 stars. The 2 kind of self-help books, there were things I took away from them, but they weren't like mind-blowing. My 2 fiction books in 3 stars I enjoyed, but there were things about them that meant I couldn't quite put them any higher. They did take me quite a long time to get through, so they didn't grab my attention as much as I think they should have done. My 4 stars, we have a couple of like very highly ranked. Is Man's Search for Meaning self-help? I don't think I can quite call it that. My 4 stars, I had a teen dystopian fiction that I really enjoyed. C.S. Lewis always has such valuable things to say. Man's Search for Meaning had some really interesting points. I just felt like it could have flowed and been a bit more concise, a little bit more, maybe. Jack and the Fallen Giants, beautiful fairy tale retelling in a gorgeous book. My 5 stars are the books that really stood out for me this year. It's interesting because I think just looking at my list of books, I couldn't have come up with them as my top 5 books of the year, but now, like, clearly they have, manifested as the books that I enjoyed the most, that I gained the most from. I can't say that they're objectively all the best 5 books on this list. That's kind of, up to you to decide. But yes, it's just nice to reflect and look at what I read and be reminded of them. Let me know what your favourite books of 2025 were. If you have any 5-star books, I would love to hear it in the comments. And I look forward to, going through more books with you in 2026. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!